Hello, hello, hello. So we are going to now enter our first content presentation, Bunifu's sales pipeline, contracting process, and project charter. So this presentation is really focused on what I like to call the sales funnel. And even though many of you are like, I don't deal with sales, that doesn't have anything to do with me. So sales is all about business development and how we are creating different revenue sources to basically bring in revenue and income and profitability for the business. So essentially, we have changed a couple of things with our strategic plan. And because of that, you all have now become part of the business development team. So many of you have been chosen specifically for your expertise and experience. And so each of the presentations are really focusing on how we can support the business development and sales of Bunifu. So we're going to focus first on sales pipeline. And then we'll move into contracting and the project charter, and I'll tell you a little bit about what those are. So before I do that, I always like to go back. I mean, we made that big connection between having Bunifu needs, leaders that have the eagle mentality. And again, you are going to be part of like our leadership team. And I essentially created this team so it's like a cross collaborative team. And I believe this cross collaborative team, I can't do it. Maurice can't do it by themselves. Marissa, who's been a project manager, Ariana, who's been a project manager with us for some time, we all can't just think together. So we're creating a cross collaborative team specifically around business development and sales, because that is what is going to help push us forward and to make sure that we can keep our doors open and keep operating and keep providing the great services that all of us have been doing. So I just wanted to introduce, most of you know each other already, but Antonetta is part of our business development team. She has been a director of, has been a technical writer for government contracts and grants, and she's also working on certifications and licensing for Bunifu. Marissa is a project manager and a board advisor. She is also helping with certification and licensing as well with Bunifu. I did not put that on there. And then we have Tisha Kuti, who is basically, she does all of our awareness and marketing with our social media pieces, email blasts. She also does a lot of operations and administrative support for Bunifu. And kind of like my right-hand person, Maurice, and the right-hand person to really help support us to manage all the pieces and putting all the pieces together as we're trying to grow and develop the business, but also really build a strong foundation. Then we hired Russell Clark, who's been with us, I think now probably about 5 months, 4 to 5 months. He is on our sales and business development team, and he really leads in generating a lot of our real qualified contacts or clients. He helps with searching for RFPs, requests for proposals, which are government contracts. He helps with building relationships in the DMV area, relationships with business entities. He helps create new businesses, new business for us. So he's been a valuable asset and has been growing with the business. Sandra Nichols. Now, this is a new role for her totally. This is what you put on, Sandra, your evaluation in our first mix and mingle, where you said you wanted to help with partnerships. So we're always looking to partner with other organizations because we're small and there's just something that we may not offer, or we may offer that something that somebody else doesn't have. And it's just a good partnership to help with creating a common goal. So we're looking to Sandra to help with that business development piece, is building partnerships. Ariana I said Ariana Kelly. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, Ariana. I messed up your last name here, typo. And it's Magnum. And so Ariana's last name. So I apologize. She's a project manager, has been working fabulously with keeping us really on track and under budget. I think she's been under budget for every single project that she has been on. And it's been quite a few, and quite a few big ones. And we always seem to finish early. And we always have a client that is so satisfied with the work that she's doing. But we want to expand that project management role with not only leading the team, but how can we make sure that business development pieces. So I'm going to kind of try to connect the dots a little bit with how all of you are cross-collaborative team, but also each of you are bringing something to the business development of Bunifu. Then lastly, we have Rosalind Ali, who's our technical writer for government contracts and grants, and also a board advisor as well. And so she'll be helping in a new role for grant development and writing, and also helping with us do periodic RFPs as well. And so, you know, we have a strategy. Basically our strategy was our strategic plan. So this is implementing the strategic plan. We believe that you all are the leaders that have really the leadership skills to help us move and grow and make sure that we're meeting our financial stability, but also we're meeting the mission of the organization and making sure that we stay true to making sure that we are eliminating inequalities, we're inclusive, and we're making sure that we're creating diverse learning, accessible learning. We want to make sure that we're innovative and we're staying cutting edge in this e-learning or ed tech space. So I wanted to first talk about what is cross collaboration and what is a team that cross collaborate. This is when a group of people with different job responsibilities or functions come together and work towards a common goal, project, or solution. Many companies or businesses, especially businesses that are traditionally underrepresented, such as Black business, Latino businesses, businesses from lower socioeconomic communities, they do not last over 5 years. And one of the reasons why is because of the financial piece. Even though we don't want to say, oh, we're all about money, but we're all about trying to make sure that we have a strong foundation so we can continue to provide the quality work and also provide the quality rates for each of our strategic partners as well. So I wanted to create a cross-collaborative team because I need someone to lead more ideas, not just myself, but come up with ideas, not just to me, but for the whole team to generate ideas. So we have to meet more frequently and talk about how we can lead toward that. Shared workloads. So the thing is that, yes, I could give everything to Russell. He could do partnerships, he could do writing of grants, but I don't think that that's the best way to do things. I think we need to come together. Each of us have something different to bring, and we have to have a shared workload to really get this engine moving. I like to say that we're the little engine that could, and we got to say, yes, I can, and move forward. Having that eagle mentality, you all have to have the vision. You all have to have the persistence. You all have to have the stick-to-itness. You all have to have that narrow view of being fearless and courageous and being open-minded and looking at the data from your vantage point and bringing it to the table so we can have some real deep conversations. Significant process of improvements. I believe that with a cross-divisional team, we can improve this organization. A culture of continuous learning. So I'm learning every day on how to build this business. What different ideas can I bring to the table? What can I implement now? Sometimes I get overwhelmed with the implementation process, but I'm always trying to do something different. I'm always also going into different conferences. I'm also meeting different people, outside of my comfort zone. I'm also trying to do different things just so I can bring back something different, but also have that continuous learning, a lifelong learner, essentially. Teamwork makes the dream work, basically. We need to make sure that we're a team. Project ownership. You all have to be the project owners of creating business development. And that comes from being a project manager all the way to a salesperson to being a grant writer. I'm going to talk about how all of these pieces work together, and also being innovative. I need people who can think critically, who's going to be open to change. He's going to bring something new, but also be able to build an idea from nothing. I used to have an old boss, and I remember when she first hired me, and she says, I want you to create this, or this is the problem we're having. I need you to create a presentation on it, and we're going to deliver it. And basically, I had a blank screen, a PowerPoint with nothing on it. And I essentially had to create something from nothing. And essentially with a new business, sometimes you're creating something with nothing. Doesn't mean that you're not going out and doing research and you're not exploring different things, but I need people who can be innovative and can think with nothing. If I come to you with an idea, you shouldn't expect me to provide you with every piece of it or every roadmap. I might come up with a vision, and then you implement it and you create it and you grow it and you water it and you stay focused and make it happen and become innovative. And that's what I need from this cross collaborative team. So I always want to go back to the foundation. The foundation is the strategic plan. This is our roadmap for the next 3 years. And you're going to see me come back to this all the time. So essentially, the first few years of a small business is to be profitable, and several more to become successful. And we want to meet a milestone and surpass the 5-year mark, where we are doing very well in this small business and building a foundation so we can grow, but also not even grow, but just keep functioning and keep going. We're really focusing for business development is on strategic priority number 2, enhance internal efficiency. So these series of presentations are really around priority number 2, enhance internal efficiencies. So set the blueprint is 2.1. We need to create a plan of action. Bunifu will develop a more efficient sales funnel, financial system, clear financial metrics, business structure, lucrative tax strategies to increase profitability from year to year. Now, one of the things that I'm going to define for this team is some specific targets around business development. Define target and priorities, profitability strategies. So I'm going to talk about the strategies that we're going to talk about as we go through each of these presentations. And this is the first one out of the 3 content presentations. Lead generation. How do we create awareness and leads? Get people to come to us, clients, customers to come to us to get the work that they want done. Grant and development. And so that means, how are we writing grants and getting more money into the funnel, into meeting many of our priorities? Local, state, federal, and government contracts is another way in which we're targeting for our marketing and sales funnel. Business development and building partnerships. So all of these pieces encompasses a piece of this cross collaborative team. And all of this is part of Bunifu's marketing sales funnel. Now, of course, we are going to be evaluating your activities individually and specifically on the financial KPI board, which I'll talk about using Monday.com in the last presentation. So increasing pricing, decreasing expenses, automate processes, and building partnerships. You will see that as we talk about how we evaluate and implement when we're looking at metrics. We want to make small incremental progress. I'm not trying to run fast right now. I'm trying to make sure that we get it right, that we think through, and that we're not wasting, time and money, but we're trying to do it well and get it done well so we can have a strong foundation when we're talking about setting the blueprint, especially around business development, the marketing and sales funnel. So I want to talk a little bit about the marketing and sales funnel. Here, I am going to show a video that I think will be very helpful to basically support, and I'm just queuing it up right now, support the work that we're doing here at Bunifu. And it's buffering a little bit. Hit add. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share, make sure my sound is on. Let's see. Okay, share my screen. Share sound.
One of the most important concepts.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the sales funnel. And the sales funnel is the way in which we process how a new client would come to us, and then how we actually have them sign a contract and essentially make profit, and then also continue to promote with them. And it's like what we call a sales funnel. So I wanted to show this video to kind of give an introduction of what a sales funnel is. Some of the terminology may be different, but I think you'll get the concept, and we'll go over how Bunifu is setting up their sales funnel and how all of you fit in to working through this funnel.
To understand what running any kind of business is the sales funnel. The reason why is because every single business in the world, regardless of how small or big it is, has some kind of sales funnel. And everything starts with your marketing efforts. You're going to create awareness, interest, and desire through your marketing efforts. And then that's going to make some people to pay attention to what you're doing, and they're going to become leads. Now, what the sales department is going to do with those leads is try to get some of those to buy. So the leads that start becoming closer to buying, those are your prospects. And then eventually some of those prospects are going to buy. They're going to spend the dollars. That's what the sales department is going to do. The reason why it looks like a funnel is because not all the people that have interest at the beginning to your marketing efforts are going to become paying customers. In fact, at every single stage, you're going to lose some of the people, right? It's very unusual that you generate interest in 100 people and those 100 people are going to buy. It doesn't work that way, right? So what you want to do is optimize the sales funnel so the conversion from the people that show interest to the ones that buy is the highest possible. And that's an entire science that businesses are continually trying to optimize by testing, by analyzing, by tracking absolutely everything through that sales funnel. This is a fundamental thing to understand for your business. How are you generating leads? What are the processes that you're using to convert them into paying customers? And definitely something very important is to realize that once you treat your customers very well, they're very happy. Your customers are also going to act as your ambassadors. They're gonna do marketing efforts on your behalf. So it's kind of like a nice circle of juice. Because if they're happy with you, they're gonna refer you through word of mouth, through sharing your stuff on social media, and that's gonna create more awareness and interest and desire. And then some of those people are gonna check out your website. They're gonna fill in the contact form. Once they fill in the contact form, they become a lead. Then your salespeople receive that lead. Now they actively track that lead and contact that lead back. And those that show interest to go further down the sales funnel to become leads, and some of them eventually buy. Hey, did you enjoy this video?
All right, so that is essentially an overall view of the sales funnel. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint slides and basically talk about our sales funnel and how the sales funnel for Bunifu looks. So essentially, we basically build awareness. We're sourcing leads through social media. We have social media that goes out on a weekly basis. We also have email newsletter that goes out monthly, and we have 2 emails that usually go to principals, leaders, or some type of target audience that are personalized emails that we have in our database. And Tisha does a lot of that work around the marketing pieces of the sales funnel. We look at open rate, and then we take that sales funnel, and sometimes we will try to then prospect capturing, we're trying to change them into prospects. And basically, we'll look at some of it through data, and then we'll pass it along to Russell to essentially capture some of those prospects from those just awareness pieces, such as the newsletter, the website, the emails, the social media. But also, Russell is finding government contracts, looking at portals, specifically in DC, Virginia, and Maryland. Now, he may look outside at different states, but we're specifically targeting those 3 states. And he's researching and saying, okay, we qualify. And that is part of prospecting as well, is looking for response for proposals that are government contracts. Government is one of the largest employers of or vendors or whatever companies of in the whole United States. And so why not target local, federal, and state governments to basically see if we can garner profitability from them. But also a lot of most K-12 institutions are government entities. And so therefore they require you to complete a response for proposal, an RFP. Also under phase 1 prospect capturing. And Russell does a lot of that research because it takes a lot to go into these different portals. Also part of that is grant writing. We are writing grants, and grants are we are a for-profit organization. We're a business, we're not a non-for-profit, but there are grants out there that we're looking to write. And once Rosalind is researching a lot of those grants and writing, Antonetta is writing a lot of those grants and responding, and also responding to requests for proposals. Now, doesn't mean that we're winning anything. So that's why they're still in phase 1 prospect capturing. But then if they qualify, meaning, hey, we have the capabilities as a business and we can do what they're asking us to do for the grant or the request for proposal, or for a client, they become phase 2 of qualified leads. And also sometimes we get return clients that may have a new project. They all automatically jump down to that phase 2 in the funnel, qualified leads. Then we're hoping that once they become a qualified lead, even if it's an RFP, we submitted it, we're hoping that we win the RFP or the request for proposal to basically do work in the government agency. Grants, we hope to win the award to then garner the grant and either service whatever we're going to say that we're going to do in the grant or utilize it for the business in the role that the grant wants us to. Or we're having a client that is qualified and we're then turning them to find out, okay, what is your deliverable? What exactly are the requirements that you want? And then hopefully changing them to a deal. And deal phase 3 is where we're getting them to sign a contract. This is where, and I'll talk about contracting. That will be the next process. As you can see right now, we're just talking about the business pipeline, but it's part of the pipeline is the contracting. And then phase 4 is promotion. Of course, we may offer a discount, or we might go back and ask clients if they have any more work. Sometimes they're very busy and they may not even think about us, and we might not be on their radar, but we always put them on our email list. Make sure that we stay in contact with them. I'm always following up with them and trying to find out, hey, is there new work that you want us to do? We're also trying to see if they can also refer us to other clients. So that's essentially our Bunifu's sales pipeline in a nutshell. So hopefully this is going to be helpful as you're working as collaborative team. And like I said before, I'm hoping that you watched the first presentation about the eagle mentality. The thing is that business development is you figuring out from the data and what you're doing, what is going well, what is not going well, and questioning. Also collaborating and finding out what your team members' roles are and how you best can collaborate with one another and how the work should flow. It shouldn't flow through me. Let me wait till I talk. No, when you talk to me in a meeting, you should be like, well, I talked to Russell. I felt like this RFP was something we could go with. I moved forward on it and we're writing it. And then these are the pieces I need from you. Okay, this grant here, the project manager should be like, oh, well, you know what? Russell or Antonetta or Rosalind might say, I don't even know what to write about this because I don't have the expertise. You can ask the project manager about their expertise around instructional design or graphic design to make sure that we meet the requirements or have the capability of doing that. Because your project managers, they know in-depth information about what the team is doing, how the team delivers a lot of the work that they're doing. So they are really very good to know, okay, what do I need to be writing? How do I need to write it? Also partnerships. We are always looking in meetings. Russell is always in meetings. I'm in meetings, and we need to follow up in partnering with other organizations to basically deliver a lot of the work that we're doing. And so that's some of the things of how we're working together with the sales funnel. Now I'm going to quickly move through these. These are just the marketing and sales activities that I talked about. Awareness, these are some of the way researching awareness and sourcing leads is researching the forecast and government target agencies. We do some paid marketing lists where we're doing email, the website, social media, newsletter, networking events, and grant search is a part building the awareness. So it's just searching. Nobody know about us. We haven't submitted anything. We're just researching. Then we're trying to move them to, okay, it's a prospect. This is a real thing. We're now submitting a grant. Doesn't mean we won anything. Just mean that we qualify for, we're submitting. We're deciding to submit. Email campaign. We know that this is our target audience. Cold calling. We know that this is our target list of people that usually buy our services or e-learning solutions. So we're basically in phase 1 and trying to move them to 2. We also to phase 2. We have warm prospects to complete like a pre-questionnaire. That means they're kind of like, okay, I really want to do this as a client. and it kind of gives them an overall view. This questionnaire that we give, like, what is your budget? What do you want? Do you have a learning management system? Who is your audience? Things like that we have with that prospect for completing the pre-questionnaire. Then phase 2, qualified leads. Again, this is where we have that contract meeting, the possibility meeting, and then we start negotiating contracts. Then we move it, once we have a deal, we actually have a signed contract, and then we move it to the project managers. They actually look at the contract, and then they develop what we call a project charter. And we'll show you some examples of those in a few. Also, phase 4, promotion. This is when they've already a client, but we continually to provide them resources so they'll keep us in mind. This here is what we used to do. These are the goals that we have. And, you know, I wish I could say this happens overnight. This sales funnel, we could do it in a week. No, it actually takes an average of 2 years to really get from awareness all the way to a phase 3 to a deal. We are trying to make that quicker. In the past, and this is the past, what I have done by myself, where we've had 114, I was able to reach out in a year annually to 114 leads, then I focus them to prospects, then qualified leads, then new clients, and then repeat clients. I went back and was able to get that in a year. And I made sure the contracts were a minimum of 20K. Okay, so that could be a grant, it could be an RFP, it could be a client. Now, it usually took me about 3 months and 1 week to basically take a client from awareness all the way to a phase 3 deal. Literally 3 months and a week. And a week for also promotions if I was going back to a client, but 3 months to really get through it. I am saying now we are looking at something totally different, the way that we're doing our strategic plan. It's going to take us longer. I'm seeing that it's taking us over 6 months. I'm hoping that with our cross-collaborative team, we can move forward by having many different areas of focus, grant writing, RFPs, and also sourcing leads, leads from, you know, clients and businesses and operations that we can move to something a little bit quicker. And again, this is past KPI metrics. We are using the metrics goals that are up here, but the 3 months and 1 week, I'm seeing that it's taking us a lot longer, but we need to push it and we need to be better because we won't stay in business if we don't. I did want to put some of the problems and solutions of the sales funnel. Like I said, problems, long sales cycles, reducing effectiveness. So the longer the sales cycle is, the longer we take not getting RFPs, the longer we take not getting grants, the longer we take with not taking a client from one phase to the deals, contracting, signing, it's a problem. That means we're not making any revenue. And so, and one of the solutions is trying to keep the prospects engaged. That means, how do we continue to work with these government agencies so they know who we are? How do we continue to work with them with the RFP so they know, okay, well, we know Bunifu can do this work, but let's write some solicitation for them or RFP for them to do it. We know that this grant is coming out every year. And so we're staying engaged with that organization to know that it's coming out and know when the grant cycle is, know that, hey, they like us, they're going to keep giving a grant. How do we build relationship with grant foundations and organizations? It's not just filling out an application and being on a watch, but how do we build relationship to make that happen? 2, lack of brand reputation and trust. We're new, so we may not have that trust and that reputation like another where you see a Target sign and you're like, oh, we know, you know, people may know Bunifu in the DMV area. They may know with our symbols and our sign, or I heard that name and is starting to recognize it. But we need to make sure we always create quality content. And that was with our project managers. And we also have to make sure that we're getting testimonials and information to be able to show that quality work and videos. And so we have to all work together to make that happen. 3, spending too much time on unqualified prospects. I have done that. I've spent so much time and trying to set up meetings and the person just doesn't show up for the meeting. I got to let them go. Even if they, and then I get people who want to nickel and dime us and they don't want to pay for the quality of work. And now I've just decided, okay, I got to move on. That means all of us have to move on too. If a prospect is not working and you see, okay, they're busy, but how do we continually maybe, okay, maybe they're not somebody I need to spend all my time on, but I need to prioritize and maybe put them in the newsletter so they remember who we are, and talk to Tisha, make sure they're in the newsletter, make sure they're getting email blasts, make sure that they're connected to our social media pieces so they know that they're aware that we are present and alive and well. But we can't spend too much time on prospects. And also we have to look at the data. So we're going to look at Monday and also the data that you all collect so we can do a little bit more. And so that's about that systemic work when I talked about in the first video about being the eagle mentality. You know what? It's not about your perception. I could care less. And when you come to a meeting with me, you should be able to say, I looked at this many grants. I applied to this many grants. And this is how many we won. This is how many we lost. This is why we lost them, because I followed up and I got the data to do it. This is the RFP. This is why we don't qualify for the RFPs. This is how many how many RFPs we submitted. This is how many people I've called. You all should be coming with the data before anything else. I get your perception and everything, but I want to know, okay, why do you want to come up with this idea and a different way to do it? But it should be data driven for number 2 to inform the decisions. 4, internal disagreement about sales process. So, you may disagree with me about, hey, maybe the sales process should not be government contracts, grants, qualified leads, generation from cold calls and emails and partnerships and social media. Hey, I'm fine with it. But until you show me the data, we're going to go with this process. And if we find a different process, because right now we're laying the foundation, then we'll do a better job. Aligning your sales process. So we need you to use monday.com. Maybe the process isn't that great. Maybe it's clunky, fine. But we need to first use it and then figure out how we can make it better. You all have to work together. You can't work through me like, oh, okay, is this qualified? No, you need to be talking to each other. It's okay to talk. It's okay to text. If you don't have each other's number, go through Slack, ask somebody, do something, find out, be a leader, have the eagle mentality. Sales demo falters. So, sometimes we have demos and we show examples of our work. And sometimes, hey, we may not have the right demo for this client, but we should make sure that we try to tailor it when we're doing our demo or our possibilities meeting. Referral business is low despite satisfied customers. I believe it's been low this year. Before, we would get referrals all the time. It's starting to pick up a little bit now, but how can we get more referrals? And it can't just be me asking for the old clients to get referrals. You are going to have to do, a good job. Maybe the project managers need to go back and find out how the clients are doing in the past, because you've had a relationship with them. Talking to Russell, how he can be supportive and going back to other clients. But keep me out of the loop and let me know and inform me. Leads lack budget or authority. So leads lack budget or authority. Use qualified data. So, leads meaning that they don't have the budget. Like I said, they want a nickel and dime us. Doesn't mean that we don't want to work with people. It just means that sometimes they're not ready for our type of services, professional services. So we need to make sure we're looking at the data. If they are, we know that they're a certain size company, they have an annual turnover rate, and they have certain set parameters. So you have to be knowledgeable. But if we want an RFP, okay, this is the type of, we may be able to win other RFPs that are in the same government sectors in other states. And so who's going to do that research to get to know that? But you got to think about the data and where it is, but you all have to be able to talk to each other. And so hopefully when I get through the third presentation, you'll have more information on that. Prospecting efforts are falling short. That means our prospects, from leads to prospects, that means that they're falling short. We're not even getting to another phase 3 where we're actually moving them to qualify. Identifying the right prospect tools. So government portals, are we really looking at the right government portals? There's so many out there. Should we go into the government site? Hey, we may have grant.watch, but is that the best one for us? Should we be looking at local grants? What should we be doing? Are there different foundations? What is something that wants our business and the work that we do? Business to business platforms. You have to think about what is in your realm and identify what is the right tool that I need to be looking at and researching and utilizing. And I'm relying on you all to come up with that. I'm okay with, hey, this didn't work this time, but let me try again. This is my solution. Come with me with solutions. I need some, like I said, I keep going back to the eagle mentality. Sorry, this is a little fuzzy, but this is about the contracting process. I'm going to quickly go through a contract and what it looks like so you all understand. Once we get through the sales pipeline, we get to assigned project, assigned contract. We basically, the table of contents of assigned contract, it has the statement of work, overview, project scope, and deliverables. There's some non-negotiable assets. There's a timeline and final sign off. That's where the client and Marisa and I signed the contract as a binding document, fee schedules and terms, and payment schedule and signature page. So this is the format of pretty much every contract that we write. I'm not sure if you can see this. I'm hoping that you can see the statement of work. I am, if you, I can't really ask you, but the statement of work here is basically, it's an overview of what the project, it's a description of the project. And basically this is an example of one that we've done with KIP Maya, the KIP Foundation. So they basically needed to get 20 self-paced e-learning modules with corresponding digital journals. These modules will be focused on career and workforce development readiness skills for high school students. It will expand the existing career college offerings in the 9th and 10th grade. Bunifu will use 5 phases of instructional design to best practices to ensure the quality meets. There will be different themes: state of global workforce, health and wellness, well-being in today's workforce, career academic core, elective classes support short-term and long-term career goals. So entrepreneurship and creating social business. So it's basically, in a nutshell, what we're going to do in a description of a paragraph is the statement of work. And so we have that statement of work. We then have the project and scope deliverables. This is how the action items that we're going to do in the contract. So this one, it may be develop a simple content storyboard to create content pages for 20 modules that are 40 to 60 minutes long. So it's the action part that do not duplicate or overlap with already existing program assets. Use existing sections for the module, develop framework. So it's actually very detailed, saying this is what we're going to do, 20, 45 minute. This is what's going to be in it. Create 20 corresponding digital journals. If it's ADA compliant, we put it here. We use existing brand or YouTube videos. We may not develop any YouTube videos. That is what is in the project scope and deliverables, or what we like to call the requirements. Preview and publish modules, ensuring every work is appropriate and advised. So that's page 1. It does carry over to page 2. Review changes and sign off. No more than 2 rounds of edits as required by the client throughout all phases of the project. So if we don't, it depends on this, sometimes it's varying, is the rounds of edits, and it's usually defined. It is always defined in the project, depending on how the timeline works. And we work with the project managers. They see those pieces. They know, they work with the client. They reinforce it with the client. So the client is walked through this contract. They may not know what, they may not remember or read it, but that is where the project manager comes in and reinforces that, and also reinforces to the team. hey, this is what we're doing. You're going over and beyond. This is you going to a 60-minute course to a 90-minute course. That's not what we need. You're doing too many parts. That's not what they paid for. So they are saying what's based on the scope of and the deliverables of the project. Non-negotiables, I know this is probably a little bit difficult to see, but I'll read it. But the non-negotiables basically is saying, you know, a week prior to the meeting, we need all your assets and it needs to be outlined before the kickoff meeting. There will be 2 business days added to the project timeline if anything is delayed, such as sign off. So, you know, we put in there, hey, this, if something happens, because these are regular things that happen, we put them in the contract. Timeline and sign off. Maya will approve all drafts of lesson plans and learning aids and storyboards and project-based assignments and notebook and digital journal. They will get 2 rounds of edits for the new modules. If there are requested changes after sign off, the client will pay $65 per hour to make those additional changes. You get 2 sign off, but if you want to make additional changes, it's going to be more. The completion dates in the timeline in the section terms below will be dependent on the turnaround time of the client, because usually the client is a little, you know, sometimes challenging to work with because of their work schedule, what have you, but you try to work with the client, but these are the parameters that are outlined in the contract. Also within the contract is timeline, financial sign-offs, and critical delays. So this is new. We added this because we found that the client was delayed. When a client is delayed, that means there's people on the team that are sitting and they're not working. That means we could be using them for another project. And it's like wasting money for Bunifu because of that. So they're trying to get people to continue to work. So that means they may be passing off pieces to, like, the writer may be finished and they may be passing off pieces to another to the instructional designer, but we want the writer to continue to write because we want a more of a cycle and an overlap so we can get more work done, so we can move and people can get other work on other projects and do other things. So what we've done is this for this particular group, they we're looking for some e-learning pieces as well. And we said, of course, you get a sign off. There will be 1 round of edits if there are requested changes after the sign off. And it will cost you $65 after that one. But if the client doesn't send feedback to Bunifu within the agreed upon due dates outlined in the project timeline, Bunifu will add 25 per day administrative coordination to cover the critical delay costs caused by the client. Now, that we added this because we were seeing that the client was not, you know, providing, and it's just, and the project manager has to say this in the kickoff meeting. Remember this, even during the deals, we may read the contract, but we may not start work until a week or 2 weeks, and they may forget this part because it's got a lot of stuff in it. But what we call this is critical delay. This critical delay is critical activities needs to be performed at least specific times in a particular order to allow the next critical piece to begin. If they don't sign off, we can't move on in the project. So we're going to charge them 25 per day if they are not providing the feedback in the timely manner. Fees and scheduled terms. So basically, you all already know our 5 phases: front-end analysis, design, storyboarding, e-learning, production. So we allot time to that within the to complete each of these phases. And this is based on, and here's the 5th phase, closing and final. This is really based on the industry. Okay, so we come up with this pricing based on these phases in 3 weeks. How long does it take the storyboarder to write? How long does it take the editor to do their thing? And we allot you maximum hours within your contract or within your project team or contract. Now, and you're probably wondering, okay, how do we come up with this fee and payment, these fees and payments? So I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to show you, we have an actual calculator that calculates based on the industry standard to see how long it takes from an average person creating different e-learning courses. So this is what it looks like. Now, it looks probably complicated, but basically what we do, we have time, front-end analysis, and this is just for instructional-led training. This has nothing to do with, this is creating a PowerPoint, a lesson plan, a workbook, a PowerPoint presentation. So you see all of these pieces. We even have the project manager. Well, how long it takes them? We have stakeholder reviews and editorial reviews, and then we even get some cushion in here. So we have low, average, and high, and then we even have a cost for it based on the industry standard. We have level 1 e-learning. We find out, okay, well, how long does it take? They want 5 modules. So we just put the 1 module, instructional design. How long does it take? Storyboarding, graphical production. If we're doing video or audio production, how long does it take for, we say total finish time, a 60-minute course. This was, we shouldn't have that long, a 45-minute course. And you see, all of these little things change. As you can see, it changes. For a 45-minute course, we're doing front-end analysis, low 1 hour, 98 minutes. Here, 7 hours, 1 hour. For low, if we're doing e-learning level 1, it's a little bit more time because we have the instructional, we have videos, Q&A testing. Quality assurance testing. That's when you're going through all those reviews. Project manager. This is based on industry standard. Level 2 e-learning. Okay, that's a higher level. We put in, if it's a 30-minute course, it may change. Let's say it's a 25-minute course. We change. This is how long it usually takes a person to complete each of these storyboards. If it's level 3, that means the front-end analysis might be a little bit deeper. The storyboarding may be a little deeper, and the content may be challenging. But however, we can still do a high end and still say, okay, from 3 hours, it may take 10 hours for one 10-minute module, okay, to do that. And so we do take into account when we're creating the budget and the contracts for each of the individual roles and their max hours. So I just want you to see this is not, it's a science. We're using numbers based on the industry standard. You also can refer to the strategic plan. We were very transparent in how we provide that. So I'm going to go back to the contracting process. So the fees and schedule of the contract are created here. We don't show everything to the client. We do walk them through each of these things, and it's all, in the phases here. And then we provide an actual pricing sheet, and then they sign. Once a contract is signed, the project manager is given access to the board. They are assigned a team. They are given the hours, but I'm going to start stepping out of that piece of giving hours. I'm going to start allowing the project manager to basically give me the hours. This is what the client wants. You tell me how long it takes for a instructional designer, your audio people. So we're gonna need you to get to that point where you're giving me the hours, because you're working with the team. You know your people, you know how long it takes your people, you know how fast they are. So the thing is that we're gonna start merging that contracting piece with the project managers. Now, when the project managers get it, they're required to complete a project charter. This project charter is also looked at with the contract. They then just take information and then they talk to the client about it. They find out what the name of the project is, the start and end date of the project description, who sponsors the project, and it's usually sometimes you have a project sponsor that might be the person who leads the project from the client. Project manager, Ariana, was this project manager. She wrote this charter. Project team or professional team. These are the people who are working on her team to complete this project. The background and context of the project. This is what they're doing. They were doing something around loans, but the context and client background, who are they? What do they do? Who are the target audience? She's getting all that information. She's getting from the client as well as from the contract. business need. What is their real need? What do they need for the thing? And so she's also, getting that from the contract and the client. Project goals. What is the staying in the budget? Limit team meetings. So it's less time. So these were her goals. Develop good rapport with the client, provide exceptional service and experience for them. Edit down to one to accommodate communication team. So she wanted to have less edits through one team because she had to go through the Merrill's office communication team. So that was her project goals. She did constraints, team schedule for meetings and communications. So, as you know, people working full time. So she had to say, okay, how can I condense? What are the ways to better communicate with my team? Here are the project risks. Government contract. So government contract is totally different than a contract. So this was basically, we put in for an RFP, and sometimes it could be nebulous. It could be a little ambiguous. And so she basically was saying, hey, there's some restraints with this. This could be risk for us. And so she really had to go through at the kickoff meeting with the client. These are the expectations. Is this what you want? These are the deliverables, to make sure the team was very clear on what it was. She talked about the non-negotiables, the 25 per day additional cost. She talked about the $65 cost to the client. So they were very clear up front in this project charter. Project deliverables here. And then she does a task list, and this is the task list for the whole entire project, 1 through 10, to final invoicing, where she then contacts Maurice for final invoicing for the client. So that was a lot of information, I know. I'm hopefully that you can stop and go and look at the process of the sales pipeline, the contracting, and the project charter. I really appreciate you taking the time to look at each of these videos, and make sure you come with questions about the process, because eventually the project managers, they're going to be helping Russell help with this contracting and writing these contracts. And so it's very important that we understand what each piece means as we grow and develop, and create standardized, efficient processes for our priority number 2, strategic priority number 2. All right, guys, thank you.